In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can create and edit a security territory in Sage CRM. I'm going to use the standard Sage CRM demo data throughout this presentation. Here I'm logging on as the system administrator, and I'm navigating using the administration menu into the user area. So I've come into administration, into users, and I want to have a look now at the way in which users have been set up within the system. I'm going to use for this particular lesson only those users who are inside the direct sales team. So I'm just going to look for those users set up. Now in here, in the list of results that we can see that there is a user called John Finch who's in the US East territory, and another user called Brian Little who's in US West, and Susan May who's their manager, who is set up to be inside the US and Canada territory. Within Sage CRM, the users are set up within structures known as a territory structure. Here we can see that this is arranged in a hierarchy with worldwide territories at the top, with US and Canada as one branch, with the different territories like US East and US West underneath that, so that you can see that there is a hierarchy. The hierarchy can be purely a geographical territory, but there's also the role to break out of that and have functional elements. So here we've actually got a hybrid between a territory structure which is based on geography and a territory structure which is based on work function. Now if I switch over into the system, into a browser here, I'm going to log on as Brian Little. Now Brian Little is a salesperson belonging to the West Coast territory, so US West. So if he goes and looks for companies, he can see that there is data that is marked inside the US West territory, which returns 105 companies. These are all companies that are in Western states. If I log on as John Finch, who's the Eastern US sales manager, and have a look at the companies that John Finch can see, these are all items that are East Coast data, and we can see that marked within the result set that is returned. So what we see for Brian Little is all US West information, and what we see for the John Finch is US East. Now if I try and look for data, so if I go and type in a company like Gatecom and try and find that, we can see that there's no data returned. So Gatecom is actually data that only exists on the West Coast information. So if I type in Gatecom here as the company and find that, we can see that Brian Little can see it because Brian Little is actually a US West. It's in his territory. But if I log on as Susan May can see both East Coast and West Coast data because her territory is higher in the hierarchy, and she can see her territory and all the child territories data straight away. So if I look here and return and find data, we can see that we've got a mix in Susan May's data of both US West and US East territory information, and there's even US Central information. And this can be shown very clearly if Susan May now searches for Gatecom Inc., and we can see that Gatecom is available to her. So we've got the knowledge that these different salespeople can see different items of data because they sit in different territories. John Finch can see US East information, Brian Little can see US West information, and they can't see each other's work. But Susan May, who sits in US and Canada, she can see both those items of data. She can see all US West and all US East. Now, in this particular lesson, we're going to look at how we can change and edit a security territory in Sage CRM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all create a new territory underneath US East, and I'm going to call this New York. So I create and save a new territory that has now gone in underneath US East. Now, it's important when you come to create a new territory, you're very clear about where you are creating it. So I had highlighted first US East, added the new territory, and it was added underneath the US East mark. I also want to change the marketing territory in here away from being called marketing for the US to marketing for US and Canada. I'm going to come out of new territory to edit territory, and I'm going to find marketing for US, and I'm going to change this to the new name, and this is going to be US marketing hyphen US and Canada. And so I've changed the name of the territory.
Once you've made the change to the territory name, there's another thing that we have to consider. After all, Sage CRM is a system that allows for multiple languages. What you'll need to do is to head out to the customization area, then look at the translations area, and within the translation screen, if you go and search for that translation, and currently you can see that my system administrator is using the UK translation, we can see and find the translation for our language. Here we can see the caption code is marketing US and Canada, and then that's looking at how we reflect the change in the languages. And I just need to click my change button and make the change in the UK, copy the UK translation and make sure that it's the same in the US translation in my machine. Once I've done that, I can save that and then head across back into the security area. And then we're back at where we begin.
Now, the name of the territory will have had an immediate reflection. So if I switch back into my browsers here, and if I go and find my user John Finch, this is John Finch, and he's going to create now a new lead, and it will go in to the territory for the US East. So I'm just going to call this Reliance Inc. And this is a test lead. Reliance Inc. And John Smith, or I'll even call this John Smith. And I'm entering in all the mandatory information that needs to be added here. And so let's just put test at test.com. So I've filled in all the mandatory information, I believe, and if I choose save now, this lead has been added, and it's been added in to the territory in US East. We can see that's marked here. What this means is that Brian Little, as a user, Brian Little can go and search for leads and can actually search across into US West, but would not see that Reliance Inc. So it's just not available wherever he goes and searches for the information. But Susan May, on the other hand, because she is in US and Canada, that information has been added now at a higher level. Well, she has access to the higher level and all of the child information underneath it. So she can go and search for a lead, and if she looks for one which is called Reliance Inc., she can go and find that particular lead for John Smith that was created by and assigned to John Finch. So what we've just looked at in this lesson is that we've managed to look at the way in which we can create and edit security territories inside Sage CRM. We'll develop this idea in subsequent lessons. Thank you.